Welcome to Season 1, Episode 2 of the Morning Poems podcast, a podcast where I read poetry from my Facebook and Instagram accounts found under the hashtag Morning Poems. I'm your host and poet, Tess McCarthy, and my claim to fame is that I've written over 1,400 poems and counting. I want to beat the Dickens out of poet Emily Dickinson, who wrote over 1,800 poems in her lifetime. So no pressure, only 400 poems to go. I think beating a dead poet's poem count is a respectful lifetime achievement. But some housekeeping. Episode 1 does not have an intro. Sorry. Maybe it's better that way. I'm going to teach elementary school in the fall and can only commit to pure poetry. So if you don't get any intro and just the poem, great. Speaking of which, if you like my poetry, you can follow me on Instagram at MorningPoems, but more often than not, I'm posting about my life on that account, not poetry. So to hear all of my wonderful morning poems, you'll have to stay tuned to this little podcast. Before I read, this project is a testimony to my almost daily habit of writing poetry. It's something I'm proud of, and I want to share it with you all. My friend Shelley came up with the idea to hashtag the poems on Facebook as morning poems since I did the bulk of it upon waking. And there we are. My special shout out to my friend and fellow librarian, Shelley. We have her to thank for being muse number 1 for this. Today is June 22nd, 2024 at 5:18 p.m. In this episode, I read poems originally written on this day, June 22nd. One is Morning Poem 27, and the other I'll read is Morning Poem 320. And if we're lucky, I'll post Morning Poem 500-something entitled Nothing to Add to the Debate. This catalog is from my original Facebook account, where me and my friend dredged up all of my morning poems, and she lovingly stuck them on a spreadsheet for me. So we're reading pretty much from the spreadsheet, and then right before I record the poems and speak them out loud, I do a second edit. Just want to say that there's a lot, and sometimes on the same day in a different year, we might have more than one poem, and today is that day where we have 3. Morning Poem 27 is from 2014, and Morning Poem 320 on that same day, different year, mind you, is from 2015. So we have a poem from 2014, which is Morning Poem 27. Morning Poem 320 is from 2015. The reason why these poems are numbered is because that's the number poem they are on my catalog of poetry. Okay, so astrologically, the sun is in full bloom in Cancer on June 22nd, and somehow themes of Monday morning and my mother are up in this episode. My mother passed away July 2014, a month before Morning Poem number 27 was written. So we have a year of mourning my mother in between poem number 27 and poem number 320. So notice the difference between the two when I read them. You'll see that I've processed my mom, and we've had this whole time between talking about the trivialities of drinking coffee and being up in the morning to relating with my mom in such a way in that second poem where I can put herself in my shoes, and then I can also put myself in her shoes growing up. And I hope you enjoy both. One is very light, and then the second one is just very loving. I think the gift of being an older adult and losing your mother is that oftentimes a parent dies and we don't get to process these feelings. And so poetry has been a way for me to process all of the things that were left unsaid between me and my mother. And without further ado, I hope you enjoy these 2 poems, possibly 3, and just listen on. And thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for subscribing. Morning Poems. Morning Poem number 27. Oh no, it's a Monday poem. Another Monday. Oh no, was it only Wednesday? How'd this happen? Wasn't I harping about being real in the here and now on Wednesday? And my coffee ritual and poetry. This Monday, I'm not goofing around by heating up coffee 10 times because I should have drank it when it was hot. It's cool, cold, cloudy outside, but my Monday is not. It's hot, fresh out of the depths of some semi-soiled microwave of my life. Monday dings, and it's the perfect temperature, so I refocus and sip life. Morning Poems. June 22nd, 2015. Morning Poem 320. That was then. This is now. It's not so hard to believe that my mother, the same age I'm now, had a second life with us younger kids. She could have stopped with my brothers, but then we wouldn't have a sister or a me or an adorable little brother. Could I accomplish that same feat by raising a family, young babies in my middle age, and their teens in my retirement days? My mother didn't tell us she was too old to have children, for she blended in with the other mothers in age and religion. No one knew her age or what number on the bottle of her hair dye was, and I really didn't know my mom's age either, because I thought she was the norm. Her skin looked fresh as dairy cream and brown as caramel candy. For all I knew, she was this product that didn't expire, not like Twinkies, no, but more like honey, which never spoils or wrinkles. It wasn't until I was in my 20s that I realized my mom was markedly older than my friends' moms. She looked and acted young. For so long, I joked that her secret was sleeping in Tupperware. Underneath appearances, I realized I had limited time with her on Earth. Selfishly, I prayed to her to have her until 100. But prayers are only prayers. They are answered, of course, but not always fulfilled. But if all sorts of prayers were answered then, we'd have what we wanted, but not necessarily what we needed. And for me, I needed a higher answer to my wishes. And this is a definite lesson. Cherish your mother for as long as you have her, because, like refrigerated cream, she expires too. And that concludes episode 2 of the Morning Poems podcast. Podcast written, produced, and spoken by Tess McCarthy. You can follow me on Instagram. You don't really have to follow me on Instagram. Just follow me here, please. But you can find me like anywhere you want to find me, baby. But it is Morning Poems. That's how you find me. Next episode, I'm going to be reading poem number 575. And that's the poem that I didn't get to today. Have a good evening. Have a good morning. And there you are.